Josh decided to go to bed, so he said goodnight to his mom, he retreated to the bedroom, and he laid in bed. But he couldn't go to sleep right away.
I've never
He
like
had a
seen
lot
any of
going
his
on in
streams,
his
actually.
life. I mean, he had just lost his dad a couple weeks ago.
I've never
At the same
like
time,
seen many of
he
his
had
streams or like
reconnected
watched
with
him
his
play
estranged
ever
mother,
actually.
and he's about to deploy to Iraq, to a war zone, and he felt ready for that, but at the same time he was kind of apprehensive. It's about to happen. I hope I'll be able to do my job. And so with all these kind of intense thoughts swirling around his head, he just kind of laid there and didn't really expect to sleep anytime soon. But eventually Josh did fall asleep. However, it felt like he had only been asleep for a couple of minutes when he was abruptly woken up by the sound of barking coming out from the kitchen. Jackie's dog was going crazy. And so Josh grabbed his phone and he checked the time and saw it was 3 in the morning. And so instead of going out there and dealing with this dog, he just thought, you know what, it's going to stop eventually. And so Josh grabbed his pillow and he put it over his head and tried to muffle the sounds so he could fall back asleep. But it didn't work. The dog just kept on barking. And then when Josh took the pillow off his head and kind of sat up, wondering what he should do about this dog situation, he heard the sound of a man's voice, a stranger's voice, saying, "I bring you forth from the dark." And then after Josh heard this, he heard the sound of a woman screaming, and it sounded like his mom. And so acting on instinct, Josh leapt from his bed, he ran out of the room, and he goes into the kitchen, and he sees the dog is jumping and barking and going mad, and his mom is screaming, and there's this guy grabbing her, kind of grappling with her, who's wearing black gloves and a ski mask, and there's another guy next to him with the same getup. It's absolute chaos. But before Josh could run over and save his mother, suddenly his chest felt like it was on fire, and then he went blind, and his eyes had this burning pain in them, and then he couldn't breathe, and he was stumbling backwards, barely able to stand. Minutes later, Rick, who was one of the witches from the coven, bolted out of the front door of Lindsay's house where all this chaos was happening, and he just took off running across the street directly into a cornfield. And as he ran, he felt this throbbing pain in his leg, and he could feel blood pooling in his shoe. Rick ran until he couldn't run any farther, and then he collapsed onto the ground, and then he began thinking about what an absolute disaster it had been inside of the evil witch's house. Not only had they failed to break the hex cast by Lindsay, but also Rick was concerned that David, his partner, who was still at the house, was dead. And Ricky began looking around wildly, hoping all those demons that were sent to help them from the spirit world, he was hoping they'd be nearby and they'd know what to do. But Rick looked around and there was no one. So Rick thought for a second, oh my gosh, Lindsay's hex must be stronger than any of us realize. We have to do something now. We have to end this before me and my family get killed too. And so Rick pulled out his phone and he called Irenia, the leader of the coven, to get her advice about what they should do next. But Irenia didn't respond to what Rick was saying the way he expected her to. Instead, she seemed very cold and almost enraged at what he was saying. And then before Rick could kind of figure out what was going on with Irenia, he heard off in the distance the sound of sirens making their way to the evil witch's house. Over the next few days, police detectives would speak to everyone inside of Irenia's coven, as well as everyone who knew both Irenia and Lindsay. And slowly but surely, the police would put together what actually happened inside of Lindsay, the evil witch's house, in the early morning hours of August 23rd, 2005. At about 3 a.m. on August 23rd, 2005, Rick and David pulled up onto Lindsay's street and they parked their car a little ways away from Lindsay's house. And then after parking, Rick and David donned their ski masks and their gloves. And then after looking at each other and nodding, they hopped out and began walking towards Lindsay's house. Their plan was to sneak in through one of Lindsay's windows and confront Lindsay the evil witch directly and break the hex by performing a sacred ritual. And then after this ritual was over, they had a second ritual they would need to perform that would send Lindsay's evil soul through the gates of hell. And to do that, they needed the help of the 5 demons that had been sent along by Irenia from the spirit world. Now, Rick and David felt like this was a great plan. However, as soon as they got to Lindsay's house and David actually began trying to climb into one of the windows, everything fell apart. First, the dog began to bark inside of Lindsay's house, and that alerted Josh's mother, who came into the kitchen and sees the dog and sees David falling through the window. And Rick, who didn't really know what was happening inside the house, he just climbed through the window after David, and when he stood up in the kitchen, he realized it was too late. They were totally caught. And so Rick, not really knowing what to do, he's seeing all this yelling and chaos happening. He looks over at David, and he sees David grab something from his belt, and he pulls it out. And it was the tool that Irenia had given them when they left her apartment to go carry out this sacred ritual. This tool was part of that sacred ritual, and it was a long, sharp knife. And what they were going to do is stab the evil witch, Lindsay Cassinger, to death with it. That was how they were going to break the hex. And then after they killed Lindsay, they were going to perform this weird ritual with her clothing that would send her soul through the gates of hell. Now, Rick did understand that this was the plan. They were going to murder Lindsay, but perhaps he didn't really know how serious David was about carrying it out, or the fact that David was not really a warlock as much as he was a violent criminal who had bragged to Irenia about previously murdering.
In any video I've ever made, or even just seen, where it's like, oh my god guys, you need to go and farm here, it's super fast, ends up helping some people, but inevitably the more people that see it, the more it gets used, and it ends up so contested it's useless for everyone. Well, strap yourselves in, we're doing it again. No, I'm only joking. I'm going to tell you where I personally farm the rep to get the supply logistics rep, and this is so I can get my rune on each class, but ultimately I want to give you the knowledge of how I came to the conclusion that the couple of spots I'm going to show you are the best. This way you can take the knowledge and apply it using the add-ons I use and find your own spot that works for you. So first, let's break down what the barriers of this reputation actually are and how we can completely tear those barriers down. The first problem is you can only carry one incomplete supply box at any given time. The second issue is that you have a 1 hour cooldown on your hearthstone. The third issue is if you're a mage and you teleport every time you get one, it's still going to cost you more silver in reagents than you make from handing it in. And the final problem is that they're so RNG dependent, as in you don't know when they're going to drop. You could farm for 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days, probably a bit extreme, but you get what I'm saying. Sometimes it can take minutes up to an hour before you actually see a supply crate drop. Now, picking those points apart, if we look on this list here, you can see there ain't actually that many different boxes, so carrying 4 to 5 different ones worth of materials isn't going to take up too much bag space. But that means if you're lucky, you could potentially get 2 or 3 complete boxes to go and hand in one go, which will save a considerable amount of time. So that's really battling the fact that you can only carry one in your bags. The second issue that I said was about a 1 hour hearthstone. Now that doesn't really matter. You'll be teleporting back to town every 30 seconds if you needed to, so you don't need to worry about your hearthstone at all. You can delete it. No, don't do that. Don't delete it. Keep it. You might need it at some point. And then I mentioned the mage. The reason I wanted specifically to mention the mage is because they do get it easier unless you're going to follow the method that I'm doing now. Because being able to teleport back to town whenever you want to hand these in obviously is a big bonus. That's why I wanted to throw it in as a negative and say, well, it does cost them 10 silver for the pleasure. And then finally, the RNG of them dropping. Well, actually, that's the big thing that you're going to take away from this video, I hope. Because we're going to eliminate as much of that RNG as possible, because if you aren't aware, chests in the open world have a ridiculously high chance of containing one of these. When I say open world, dungeons as well, of course. In fact, it's more uncommon to find a chest without one than with one, which is also an interesting thought. You know, the fact that there are a couple of chests in Wailing Caverns, there's loads of chests in Shadowfang Keep. If you're a rogue or a druid, you could go and do those. It's just the unfortunate fact is you're always going to have your hearthstone ready, or you're going to have to run back, get to the entrance of the dungeon, which you could do by someone resetting for you. But yeah, I don't think dungeons would be quicker than what we're going to look at now. Now, there's a couple of add-ons that you're going to need that are just going to make this a lot easier, especially if you want to actually find places to farm it yourself, which is going to be Logout Skip, which is an add-on which shows you essentially where you would end up in the world if you was to find somewhere to log out and then where it would teleport you to. So if you're not aware of Logout Skips, I mean, they're in the Rested XP guide if you use Rested XP to level, and it's good use of these logout skips that makes Rested XP so fast. Link in the description if you buy the guide. Obviously, it helps support the channel, and it's got all the rune locations in it as well, which is worth mentioning. So if you create a new character, you can literally just go, oh, I want to know where this rune is, and it will send you off to go and get it, which is pretty cool. And that's actually just part of the guide. That's free of charge. Anyway, enough of that. It's just where I actually got the idea from, to be fair, was from the Rested XP guide, where when you've got the logout skip add-on, you can show logout skips and you can show death skips, and it turns your map into, it looks a little bit of a mess. If I explain to you how it works, so the logout skips, when you enable it, it shows you all of these lines, and then it's got a cross in each of these sections. So what this basically means
want
is
to be
if you
trained in
was
the
on
use of
this
a weapon,
section
do
here
you?
somewhere
Well, don't
and you was
stand
to
there
log out and do a log out
Speak
skip,
up, laddie.
you're going to end up at the X
Bixie
here, which is going to be
Wobblebomb, the known
Camp
weapon
The
master,
same applies
is
for
wandering
death
about
skips.
in this shop.
So if you was to die
She can
all
teach
the way up
crossbow,
in this top
daggers,
left
and
corner,
throwing weapons.
you would then end
Wu
up at
Ping,
the
the
Spirit
human
Reser
weapon
here in
master
Camp
at Weller's
Saraja
Arsenal
again.
in
And the same
Stormwind
goes
teaches
with all of these
crossbow,
other
daggers,
sections. So you
one
just
and
look in the
two-handed
section,
swords,
you look at where
polearms,
the
and
X is,
staff.
that's where you're going to end up if you
Ilienia
either die
Moonfire, the
or you
Night
use a
Elf
log
weapon
out
master,
skip, then
resides at
obviously
the
it's these
Warriors'
sections
Terrace in
instead.
Darnassus,
The
where
reason
she
the
teaches
sections
bow,
are different is
daggers,
because when you
fist
do a log
weapons,
out skip,
staff, and
it's either going
throwing
to take you
weapons.
to a spirit healer or it's going to take you to an instance portal of some description. Now it's the instance portal which is incredibly important and it's actually what we're going to be using. The other add-on you're going to want is Gathermate. So Gathermate shows you
Damn,
on
this guy got the
map
name
where
Demon.
locations of
Straight up
chests are,
Demon.
herbs, mines, everything. But it's the chests that we're
Yeah.
interested in. So to get this to work, once you install it, just go to Gathermate, and then you also, when you're downloading the add-on, you're going to want to get the Wowhead data pack for it as well. You simply go to import. You'll just tick what you want to import. So we just want treasure. I always just tick fishing as well, so it can actually be imported because it doesn't look like you can only do treasure. And then you import the information. Now you can filter and turn everything off here. So I would just select none for herbs, mines, and fish. And I'd just have treasure turned on. I also turn off battered footlockers because I don't really care where the rogues' battered footlockers are. But now when we open the map and we look somewhere, we can go, oh look, there's all the chests. And then to explain exactly how a logout skip works, you do it inside a cave, so you need to be under the terrain, as in the world terrain, and you need to be about a full character's height above the floor. So what you're looking for is something that's taller than you, that you can stand on in a cave, and then when you log out, using the add-on, you'll be able to work out exactly where you're going to end up when you log out. So the first time round on my mage, where I farmed these chests was in Stone Talon Mountains here. And the reason I've done it here is because there's plenty of places you can log out. And when you log out, it's going to take you here, which just saves the little run across the map. And then you've only got a short run to Sunrock Retreat where you can then fly to Thunderbluff, hand in, fly back, run over to the mine again, then either find a chest or kill loads of mobs, which you should be killing every mob you see as well, by the way, because every one of them's got a chance to drop one of the supply
This
capsules.
guy's username is Milk My Meat.
Kill everything while you're looking for chests.
Need
In
a
fact,
spot?
that's where I find
Are you here
more
to
from
learn
the
the
mobs.
proper
That's not bad.
So, interesting thought. And then in this particular situation where you're in this mine, you can sort of get on this digger here and go right up to the top. You can log out and then it's going to send you over to the spirit.
Caramel.
As I say, you've now not got that far to run to the fly path. That's exactly what I've done on my mage to get to honor to get the rune, and it wasn't too bad. It was fairly quick, but it could have been quicker. And that's where I came up with this idea. And
I'm right next to
I've
Stenalingus.
seen tons of people doing it already. Now, I don't know if they're actually log-out skipping or they're just farming there. If we look at Ogrimmar, you can see this X here, which is actually the instance portal into, like, the sergeant's room where you can actually get honor gear and stuff like that. And this section actually goes over into the Barrens and covers Boulder Load Mine at the top,
Right.
which has got several
Well
chests and lots of enemies that you can kill.
See ya soon.
And it's in a cave. So what you can do is go in here, kill anything that you see, looking for the chests outside and inside, and then when you're there, the really good thing is if you get lucky and you find a chest outside, or you kill a mob outside and it drops one straight away, you've got somewhere you can do the log out skip right at the start of the cave. And if you was deeper in the cave, you got somewhere there as well. Let me show you. But like you can see, we've come over, we've found a chest straight away outside, and it's got one in. And I kid you not, I literally started recording as I was walking in and happened to find this chest instantly. That was not set up for the video. I'm as surprised as you are. And then what you're going to want to do is just run into the mine. Now again, you're going to want to kill everything on the way, and you can quite clearly see where the battered chests are if you're using Gathermate like I suggested. When I say kill everything on the way, that's assuming that you obviously haven't actually been as lucky as I was and got a chest instantly. And you can see someone else doing the log out skip here now, and it's probably because he's actually following rested XP and he's questing. But when you jump off of the fire up onto this beam and then you log out, it's going to teleport you instantly to Ogrimmar. Now, I'm not going to let this teleport go off because I actually want to go and show you the other section if you was deeper into the mine. So going all the way in, you'd be just killing everything along the way. And you've got two paths you can take when you get to the end. If you get to the end of the cave and you go straight ahead, there's actually a chance at a chest down here like you can see on the mini-map. But we're not actually interested in the chest because we just want to get back to Ogrimmar because we've already got our waylaid supplies. So instead you're going to go left, and when you get round this corner, you'll see a tent here. What you're going to want to do is jump onto the barrels, onto this little ledge, and then jump onto the tent. That's it, you're done. Now you can log out, and when you log back in, you'll be in Ogrimmar, ready to hand in. Now the beauty about this is it's going to send you straight into here, like I said, the instance portal that takes you to the Hall of Legends. all you're going to want to do is just jump down and go and hand in over outside the auction house. Now, I'm not going to get any rep because I'm already honoured on here, but now you've got a decision to make. The one I got, for example, was lesser mana potions. Now, this requires 20 lesser mana potions, so you could absolutely carry 20 around with you just on the off chance that you've got this, or you can just hand it in incomplete. Yes, you're going to get less rep, but you are going backwards and forwards pretty damn fast. Now, the same would apply if you was to use the cave at Skull Rock, so just outside Orgrimmar. It doesn't really matter either way, but they're really low level, and I reckon you're going to see a lot more people there as well. So a lot more competition on chests. You're probably not going to be that lucky to be able to just rock up and find a chest instantly. But also do remember, try and ask for a layer swap. Use Nova World Buffs, which is another add-on, which is going to show you which layer you're currently playing on. So looking at Nova World Buffs at the moment, if I weren't really happy and there was too much contest in that cave, I'm currently on layer 3. I could then use the guild layers button or ask in guild to see what layer people are actually on, and then get invited to a different one where hopefully there's less competition for the chests, for the mobs and all of that. So using these add-ons, you can quite easily find your own little area where you want to go, where it's got a dense population of chests. Yeah, kind of makes sense. And somewhere you can execute a log out skip in a cave to end up close to a flight path, or ideally an actual city where you can just hand them in straight away. For the Horde, I'd love to hear where you guys are doing it, but I don't think there's anywhere better than the Boulder Lobe mine, just on the basis it takes you straight back to Orgrimmar and you're literally a few feet away from actually handing
it's like the one you can't really get to at all.
And I've had a look at all the rested XP guides at where the log out skips are, and quite honestly, the best one I potentially thought of was actually the mine at the north of Loch Moden. And it's for no other reason other than the fact that there's plenty of places where you can execute a logout skip inside. There's loads of battered chests around, and when you do the logout skip, it's going to take you straight back to the Flight Master, where you can then just fly to Ironforge, hand in, fly back, run up, do the same again, rinse and repeat. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't play Alliance, so really use the information that I've given you to maybe find one that's better than that, because, as I say, there's you're literally a few. So using these add-ons, you can quite easily find your own little area where you want to go, where it's got a dense population of chests. Yeah, kind of makes sense. And somewhere you can execute a log out skip in a cave to end up close to a flight path, or ideally an actual city where you can just hand them in straight away. For the Horde, I'd love to hear where you guys are doing it, but I don't think there's anywhere better than the Boulder Lobe mine, just on the basis it takes you straight back to Orgrimmar and you're literally a few feet away from actually handing it in. Now, I don't play Alliance, and I've had a look at all the rested XP guides at where the logout skips are, and quite honestly, the best one I potentially thought of was actually the mine at the north of Loch Moden. And it's for no other reason other than the fact that there's plenty of places where you can execute a logout skip inside. There's loads of battered chests around, and when you do the logout skip, it's going to take you straight back to the Flight Master, where you can then just fly to Ironforge, hand in, fly back, run up, do the same again, rinse and repeat. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't play Alliance, so really use the information that I've given you to find one that's better than that, because, as I say, I've not even leveled an Alliance yet, so maybe you already know somewhere that's really good. And a couple of other points that will just speed this up and you absolutely should do.
No, I'm going to Duskwood to turn in the quest real quick to get some shell inventory.
Go to Thunderbluff or go to Darnassus and get your world buff. It's 20% movement speed, which is huge. So when you're running out of the back door here at Orgrimmar to go out and run along and down up into the mine again, you're just going to be moving there a lot quicker. And the same would apply to wherever you go. If you chose to go Stone Talon Mountains, because it is tried and tested, as I say, I've done all the way through Friendly and Honoured in this exact place. That run backwards and forwards is going to take some time. Even if you are log out skipping back to the Spirit Healer, there's no reason not to run around with BFD world buff on, because I'd say it's 20% movement speed. It's a no-brainer. And the final point really is when you're going to go and do this farm, think about your runes and think about your talents and how you can get a little bit more AoE or a little bit more cleave or even a bit more survivability. So when you're running through these mines, you can grab 3, 4, even 5 mobs and kill them all at the same time. The quicker you're killing, the quicker you're looting, the more chance you've got of actually finding a supply cache off of one of the mobs, and also less chance someone coming along and stealing a chest while you're busy like slowly killing loads of different mobs. So having some sort of AoE build would actually be super strong as well, which is what I do personally. Like I said right at the start of the video, the whole purpose of this really was to give you the ability to go and find what works for you. I gave you the spots that I've been using and they work really, really well. But go and experiment with these add-ons and find a really sick place for yourself. I tell you now, the logout skip add-on for the actual depth is amazing. Like, I've just started leveling a rogue and I wanted to get to Thunderbluff to get the world buff. and boon it, so I could then go back to the undead area and start leveling properly. I say properly with world buffs, but yeah, it just makes it a lot quicker, don't it? So I pretty much death skipped from every single segment. So as soon as I stepped foot in the Barrens, I got to around here, I died, spawned at Crossroads. I then ran down the road until I got to just about here, died, spawned at Camp Sarajo. I ran into Mulgore, died, spawned at this spirit here. Like, you see what I mean? It's really powerful when you know exactly where you're going to end up depending on where you die. And apologies if you've used this for a long time. I genuinely haven't. It might be a really well-known add-on in Classic era. It's not something I've really ever worried about before. It was only when I was looking at the logout skips and I was like, there's got to be an easier way to know where you're going to end up. So yeah, if you've skipped right to the end of the video for some reason, Boulder Lode Mine, probably my favourite place. The mine in Windshear Crag, probably second favourite. And on the basis it's more of a theory for Alliance rather than a true tested fact, I would go for the mine at the north of Lochmoden and doing logout skips so you can get down to Falsamar. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. Big push to 100k. Let's do it. And as I say, if you haven't got rested XP ready to actually get yourself to 40 and then 50 and then 60, link in the description and the pinned comment. Obviously, it is a paid leveling add-on, but trust me, it's worth every dollar. Good luck with the rep farm. It's not easy. And if any of you were like, oh my god, like why are you not just doing the item restore, you know, deleting them all and then using the item restoration tool? They fixed that very quick. That doesn't work anymore, because trust me, it was probably going to get mentioned, but I was quite sad when I went on my druid and no such luck. But yeah, again, like, subscribe, see you on the next one.
I think the first dungeon we should do is Shadowfang Keep, am I right? Oh, Emmy's here? Oh wow, Emmy's level.
No. Where does it take you? Oh, that's cool. Alright, I'm gonna start flying to Red Ridge.
Like these great beasts, no paths that you can't find on foot. They'll get you there fast and maybe show you something new at the same time.
Oh, We've all been duped, bamboozled, smeckledorfed. Not even a word, yet it accurately describes this situation. We have been lied to. Another example that no matter how convincing some things may appear on the internet, there's a very good chance it's somehow fake. This whole hoopla with Ruby Rose and the obsessed super fan who spent $60,000 on her OnlyFans in a month, and then had all of his text messages leak with Ruby Rose that were just completely unhinged, just lunacy. Turns out all of it was a coordinated marketing effort from an agency that worked in collaboration with Ruby Rose as well as the man portraying Brandon. It's not real. It was all a ruse. And many of us, myself in a big way, fell for it hook, line, and sinker because, man, did they do a great job with it.
Nah, I didn't purchase none of her OnlyFans content.
Ruby Rose.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was all a hoax?
I got in this situation where I just went and took a picture with Ruby Rose, right?
Okay.
I got paid for it. I didn't know exactly what it was for. You know, I think it was a promo thing or something or whatever the fuck it was, you know?
I did, in my last video covering this, say that there is a chance that it was all staged because it was so over the top that it may have been used to drive traffic to Ruby Rose's OnlyFans. I at least had an inkling of a suspicion that that was possible, but I really didn't think anyone would ever agree to play the role that this guy did. The obsessed stalker porn addict. And after watching the interview where he blows the lid off of this, it seems he just didn't know the magnitude of it. They kind of kept him in the dark. And he even did get a real fucking tattoo of Ruby Rose's face that is now permanently on the back of his leg. Which, I mean, that's wild dedication. That's method acting that you won't find many.
What can I do? Well done, adventurer. Such fine specimens, too.
They really
Here's your
found
delicious
a
delicacy
unicorn
known as
here with
Red
this
Ridge
guy.
goulash.
What a fucking champion to go through with something like that for the sake of driving money to someone that's not him. Now, before fully diving into this complex situation, I want to give a thanks to today's video sponsor. Big thanks to ROG Ally for sponsoring this video. As a fan of ROG, it was a match made in heaven when they asked if I'd be willing to partner with them for their ROG Holiday Advent Calendar, which includes 24 days of giveaways
I need
to
one
share
more.
the ROG Ally with all of you. The gift of giving. And the ROG Ally can play pretty much every game since it runs Windows 11. It's fully compatible with Steam, Epic, Game Pass, GOG, and more. And it also has a 1080p 120Hz touchscreen panel, so you can tear up Fortnite OG, like absolutely run wild on it, like Matt most likely is behind me. It's lightweight, it's comfortable to hold, great battery life, which means it's easy to game anywhere, so it'll be great for the holidays. Now, ROG gave me a second ally to share with one of you, so all you have to do is comment hashtag 24 days of ROG, and the giveaway will be open for 7 days, and ROG will be announcing their winners on the Instagram page. For more details on the giveaway and to keep up with the 24 days of holiday giveaways, check out the ROG Advent Calendar in the link below. Happy holidays and good luck, and thanks again to ROG Ally for sponsoring. The interview dives into his lore and how he got this role here and how everything kind of played out behind the scenes. So I'm just going to show you a couple of clips from that, as well as explain what made this so much more believable than other intense similar things in the past.
And I met up with her. I take this picture. Next day, I'm like the fucking OnlyFans top spender. I knew there was like some kind of thing where there was like, had to do with the OnlyFans top spender shit, but I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So they made it look like I was her top spender, you know?
So he's saying that he was under the impression that he was just going to take this picture with Ruby Rose and they were going to use it for some kind of promo thing, and then he eventually found out that now all of a sudden he's the OnlyFans top spender, and now he's famous for being a porn-addicted weirdo creep, and he just didn't know exactly what he was getting into here. Now, something that's super interesting is that even though this guy is coming forward and saying that this was all a bunch of mumbo-jumbo, all a calculated marketing effort, there are still people that refuse to believe it. They're going so deep, and I think it's such a testament to the current landscape of the internet, where even when the truth is being revealed, like fully, people just want to live in a fantasy. So what people have concocted here is that all of this is actually the marketing stunt. This guy really did spend 60 grand and more on Ruby Rose, and he's embarrassed and ashamed of it, so he's lying. He's going on this press tour about it, in order to try and clear his name. He really did spend all that money. He's lying. He's just trying to cover up his shame with this fairy tale. And I'm smart enough to not to fall for it with my galaxy brain. And I find that just so fascinating.
So they
I had an
didn't
idea
fill
they
you
were
in
gonna-
on this beforehand? They
Kinda
didn't say,
get-
hey, we have this big idea. This is what we're going to
So
do.
the
We're going to
idea
fake
was
this thing.
like they were like, we're gonna use your. I mean, they kind of let me know that I was gonna be like this, like one of her like subscribers, I guess, on OnlyFans or something like that, right? I was like, okay, that sounds cool. You know, I didn't know it was gonna blow up to this big, huge story. You know, they said it was gonna be big, and then, you know, I was like, okay, cool. This is kind of cool. Whatever the fuck. I was like, when's money gonna start coming in? You know, like I was like, I want some money out of this.
So they gave him just like the very basic rundown without filling him in on exactly how everything was going to play out, and he was expecting to be paid for it, I guess, over time through this deal. And that clearly was never in the cards. He was literally used as like a whoopee cushion for the internet to fart with. Like just someone to dunk on and get Ruby Rose's name out there even more. Now, in my last video where I covered this, I said, like, yes, it's possible, it could be fake, but what would be the gain? Why would you fake this? Not only from his perspective, like, why would you take this role, but from Ruby Rose's perspective, because I just can't imagine who sees this story and is like, oh, wow, this is inspiring. I need to donate money to Ruby Rose. Like, I don't see how that works. I don't know how you take this marketing campaign and turn it into subscribers for Ruby Rose. I guess it must work to some extent, otherwise they wouldn't do it, and I'm sure she's made a lot of money from it. But I just don't really get that thought process. Who watches this porn addict, obsessed stalker fan who doesn't stop sending the creepiest text messages ChatGPT can cook up, and then they're like,
I'm out of range. That scout isn't ready yet. Not enough energy. He isn't ready yet. I don't have enough energy. It's too far away. Not enough energy. I need to get closer. I can't do that. It's too far away. I'm out of range. I don't have enough energy. Not enough energy.
Yeah, not worth it. Yeah.
Step on up.